Garrett suffers from grim visions, believing himself to be merely a vessel that must be opened. Reflecting on his need to find the inner harmony he has lost, and the fear that leaves no room for love, he regains consciousness and sees a bloody girl lying next to him, apparently killed by his own hand. The boy immediately calls his mother, but she seems largely indifferent to his troubles. However, Garrett explains that he remembers nothing and begs her to come quickly. After hanging up, he spends a long time staring at the bloody body, but he still cannot recall anything. Later, his mother, a cold, distant, yet strikingly beautiful woman, drives him to a secluded clinic in the forest. According to its advertisements, the clinic promises to make him flawless in every way. On the way, Garrett muses about how people always have to feel their way to find a way out of difficult situations. He tries to ask his mother why this happened to him if he is supposed to be good. She assures him he will understand when he grows older. For now, he will stay at the clinic where he will learn to find his path and follow it to the end. They arrive at their destination. Garrett walks along a road surrounded by tropical forest and soon reaches a modern building skillfully integrated into the lush greenery. Inside, a few people follow the instructions of a voice, advising them to breathe deeply and think about their new selves. It emphasizes that the form of one's mind is entirely up to the individual. Listening to the voice's guidance, Garrett steps onto a terrace, observing beautiful girls everywhere, enjoying life. In the pool, a girl swims gracefully, captivating the onlookers. She climbs out of the water, and Garrett forces himself to look away from her stunning figure and move on. Finally, he reaches his room, where magnificent landscapes are visible through glass walls. On the bed lies a suit meant for him, and the voice encourages him to settle in comfortably because later he will meet those who are following their paths. Garrett presses a button on a remote, causing the walls to slide open and granting him access to the terrace. He sits on the edge, wondering what lies ahead. The voice promises to help once he chooses his path. Only then will his treatment begin. Until then, he is free to rest. Night falls. Even at this hour, the beautiful girls remain by the pool. Some splash in the water while others lounge around it. Garrett reflects on how he has created his surroundings. As he grasps reality, he realizes he can claim it as his own to feel omnipotent. Meanwhile, the girls by the pool start taking selfies. Garrett feels lost in dreams, experiencing vivid visions. In the morning, he wakes up in his room, uncertain if it's reality or another dream. The voice informs him that his trainers will arrive soon. Garrett rises and performs his morning routine, recalling his mother's voice. She cannot help but feel responsible for him. As he is her son, she looks at his face and sees her own eyes reflected there. Garrett begins his workout, surrounded by young people. His mother's voice continues, expressing her hopes that he would become someone different, perfect. Yet she often questions whether the world truly needs perfection. Garrett dives into the pool, hearing his mother declare that perfection is terrifying. It will destroy humanity. Suddenly, he sees the face of the girl he once held in his grasp, twisting and crushing her in a frenzy of destruction. Snapping back to reality, Garrett finds himself in his bathroom, standing before the sink. His hands are empty, but his throat hurts intensely. The voice asks him to explain what happened, but he has no answer. Garrett runs into the corridor and collides with a girl who introduces herself as Sarah. She tells him she traveled from afar. Garrett admits he was born nearby. His mother visited this place in her youth and now believes it can fix him because of his strange visions. Sarah realizes he hasn't made his choice yet and is surprised he hasn't started his journey. She reminds him that he must grow. He needs to ascend to the next level to live here. Sarah invites him to join her and see her progress, but asks him to stay behind the curtain for now. She leaves and Garrett reflects on how two people vibrate when they see each other. This, he believes, is the true process that unites them. Later, they lie by the pool, gazing at the starry sky. Sarah senses something is wrong. Garrett confesses it feels like he has known her for a long time. Later, the voice warns Garrett that he's putting her in danger, asking if he remembers what happened to his girlfriend. Garrett admits that everything that happened felt like a dream. He was terrified, as though he were racing towards something and couldn't stop. Yet deep inside, he found it exhilarating. Then he woke up, horrified by what he had done. The voice explains that transgenic microbiotic implants will heal him. This technology will change his perception and free him from his basic programming. It will make him better, more perfect, and more advanced, but the procedure must be done immediately, or he could let everything take its course. The choice is his to make. Garrett chooses the first path and heads for the procedure. He finds himself in a room with a control panel, its buttons glowing red and white. After a moment's hesitation, he presses one. A hatch opens in the ceiling, releasing a brilliant beam of light into the sky, visible to everyone around. The next morning, Garrett wakes up in his room, greeted by the voice congratulating him on the start of his journey. He's informed that updates will arrive in the bathroom. A mechanical arm immediately hands him a package containing the first kit. Garrett studies the instructions, pulling out a tool resembling a pencil. He is to draw specific lines on his face. Following the instructions, he completes the task, after which the tool transforms into a scalpel. He must now cut along the marked lines and remove a square of skin. Garrett does so, inserting the prescribed medicinal material into the gap. The voice congratulates him on beginning his path to perfection. But soon, swirling colorful lights dance before Garrett's eyes, unsettling him. Eventually, he regains his composure and resumes his daily routine: exercise, yoga, swimming. One day, he encounters Sarah, who is pleased he chose his path. Although she likes him, she suggests they part ways. She has progressed far beyond him and now views him as one might an ant. Wishing him well, she bids him goodbye. Sarah departs, leaving Garrett to wander through the garden. He contemplates the term chrysalis, a cocoon stage for a butterfly. The word stems from the Greek chrysos, meaning gold, as many cocoons are golden inside. When a caterpillar matures, it attaches itself to a branch with silk, shedding its skin to reveal the hard shell of the chrysalis beneath. Later, he returns to his room and receives a call from his mother, asking if he is happy. Garrett, uncertain of what has changed, tells her about Sarah. Suddenly, he feels a sharp headache. His mother apologizes for not spending enough time with him. Garrett seems to slip into a dark void, finding himself covered in dried mud, facing a girl tied to a tree. He sets her ablaze, watching her burn. Garrett snaps back to reality, lying on the floor. A signal for a new procedure beckons him. Once again, he carves a square into his face, removes the skin, and inserts the healing material. He experiences visions, with a young man at their center. Garrett wonders, is this figure him, an adversary, a rival? The path forward is clear. He must delve into himself. This figure, it seems, will guide him back to his true self. Garrett continues his regimen alongside other young people. With each session, more of his skin is replaced by the healing material. Over time, Garrett begins to reflect on love, realizing it cannot exist without another person, a reflection of himself. The doctors monitoring his transformation note that Garrett's journey remains uncertain, though progress is evident. Dr. Price eventually decides it's time for the next phase. Garrett's body is now fully inscribed with laser-etched lines across his shaved skin. That night, Garrett finds Sarah by the pool and pleads with her to stay. She asks him to let her go. Garrett begs her not to leave, but Sarah apologizes, promising that he will find her at the end of his path. She swims away, vanishing into the water. Garrett continues to alter himself, feeling his mind grow increasingly alien. One day, another girl shows interest in him. Garrett confides that his mother once came here in her youth. He's here now because he killed his girlfriend. Upon hearing this, the girl leaves abruptly. Dr. Price's voice echoes in Garrett's mind, speaking of divine justice, with its arrow aimed directly at Garrett's heart. This, the doctor says, is the will of an angry God. According to his teachings, one must cast away any part of the body that tempts them rather than let the whole self be condemned to the eternal flames. Garrett awakens in his room. Everything he just experienced was a vision, triggered by social interaction. He remains vulnerable, which means the threat persists. Each time he risks endangering everyone around him. The clinic exists to prevent such relapses. Garrett breaks down, tears streaming as he struggles to understand what is wrong with him. The voice explains that his brain is that of an animal designed to survive in the wild savanna. It is ill-suited for the structured norms and rules of civilized society. He must be open to complete reprogramming. Only then can he achieve peace of mind. But Garrett doubts this, convinced that even if he evolves, true peace will remain out of reach. He trusts neither himself nor anyone else. Suddenly, he calls the voice by name. The woman is startled, asking how he knows it. She urges him to maintain control and stay with her, but Garrett feels a familiarity he cannot shake. He screams and pounds on the walls as the voice encourages him to release everything, assuring him it's normal. Once more, Garrett finds himself in the guise of a wild man, covered in filth, surrounded by equally primal figures. He watches as a young girl ascends the steps of a pyramid, walking toward masked priests in her impending doom. Agonized, Garrett doubles over, screaming for the treatment to continue. He has not yet cleansed himself. The voice warns that unless he embraces the change, he will be placed under restraint for the safety of others. There is one final level, a stage few can endure. In Garrett's case, an exception must be made. Desperate, he pleads for the process to continue. The observing doctors doubt he can see it through. Dr. Price steps in, deciding to speak with Garrett directly. Commanding him to stand, Price reveals the truth about his mother. He founded the clinic and once treated her. They fell in love, and he is Garrett's father. There is nothing inherently wrong with Garrett. Price admits to his own mistakes, but assures him that Garrett was never one of them. Instead, he has been a victim of others' misguided decisions. Now his parents accept responsibility and promise to take care of him. Price offers his help. He instructs Garrett to lie down, preparing to insert the final piece of healing material, one that will make him truly whole. Price cuts into Garrett's chest, placing the cube inside. Garrett's vision shifts to an ocean shore. Moments later, his entire body begins to shimmer, crisscrossed by the glowing lines between the implanted cubes. Garrett marvels at his renewed strength, though he still considers himself dangerous. Price offers to take him to the source, their creator. They are merely vessels, and the clinic was designed to free them from the creator's will, granting them true autonomy. To achieve this, Garrett must look within. Price seats him, instructing him to close his eyes and focus on his breath. A sphere of energy descending his spine, then rising to his head. Garrett concentrates, envisioning the ocean as the world around him flickers and transforms. Suddenly, Price's assistant interrupts, reporting signs of rejection. They must stop immediately, as Garrett isn't responding to the treatment. Garrett finds himself once again in a primal forest, where he discovers a living infant and begins to devour it. Price demands he continue, insisting that this is the path to healing. Price recalls the day he first saw his son and fled to this hidden place, believing Garrett had destroyed his reality. The first step was to accept that perhaps they were nothing, mere projections of wounded pride and fractured minds. Trapped in the grasp of societal infection, they lose themselves, torn apart by the teeth of infernal beasts. They must reboot their old system and create something worth dying for. Garrett laments his life's lack of authenticity, mistaking that absence for strength. The problem with truth, he says, is that once known, it cannot be forgotten. As they discuss, a young woman walks through the empty corridors of the clinic. She steps onto the terrace where Price cradles a deformed infant, the true Garrett. Garrett's parents did everything to keep him in his world, but now he sees himself through others' eyes. His mother urges him to breathe life anew. Sarah is now part of him. Like a wave returning to the shore, Garrett will rise again. There will be no more growth because he is finally home. This stylish narrative layers its philosophy with an unsettling exploration of mental instability, probing the delicate boundary between a lost soul and the edge of madness. However, patience is required to unravel its meaning fully, leaving viewers to ponder, what is the real message?